welcome back to another episode of The Common Theory, the number one CPDH podcast. And today, we have Rohan back.
What's up, y'all? I'm back. Nice. I'm alive.
Good, man.
That's great.
How's things been treating you, man? How you feeling?
I'm feeling a lot better. My voice is still a little raspy, but man, I feel like a billion times better than I did like a few days ago, let alone a week ago. It was really bad. I was like all feverish and shit. And I basically couldn't talk for like almost 2 weeks. Voice is like totally gone. I never gotten laryngitis before in my life, but it's not fun. 0 out of 10. Do not recommend.
That sucks, man. Sorry to hear that, but welcome back. And Franklin, how you doing, man? How's life been treating you?
Pretty good. Can't really complain. Got like a whole bunch of fun shit in the mail. Got a dual land, got a Gaia's Cradle, got edge foil commanders to go with Malcolm.
Man, Mr. Moneybags over here. His cradle.
I mean, I think you have to have that
cradle away, sir.
Yeah, like I got my annual bonus for work, and then when I was checking eBay, I was like, oh, okay, I see this Japanese cradle on an auction. I was like, okay, let me try it. If I win it, cool. As long as I get it under 600, and I got it for like 520.
Very cool. Everything's been relaxing for me. Nothing crazy. No hurricanes for us down here in Florida, so we're feeling pretty good. At least my part of Florida. Let me put that out there. Let's just dive into this video, guys. What do you think?
Yeah, because by the time that everyone sees this, Common Cause 6 has already happened. Congratulations to the winner, especially this guy.
Congrats to the winner.
Yep. So, all right, let's dive into this video, guys. We have a very, I don't know if I want to call it controversial, but we're going to be taking some pretty hot takes today. We got a couple really crazy things. Foundations has been fully spoiled, and we are going to be talking about a specific, just one card. Yes, we're actually going to make an entire episode of one card, and I think it really needs to kind of get put out there. So
I think it's very apparent to what card we're talking about.
Yes.
Apparently.
Apparently. And Rohan, do you mind reading Hare Apparent for us, please?
I do not. All right. Hare Apparent, not heir apparent, hare as in rabbit, is a 2 CMC, 1 colorless, 1 white creature rabbit noble. It has 2 power and 2 toughness. It says, when this creature enters, create a number of 1/1 white rabbit creature tokens equal to the number of other creatures you control named Hare Apparent. Here's the kicker, right? A deck can have any number of cards named Hare Apparent. So it doesn't trigger on more 1/1 tokens, it triggers on the Hare Apparent itself. So the Hare Apparent actual cards trigger each other, creating more bunnies.
Yes.
The bunnies, they replicate. There's weird stuff happening out there on your board.
Yeah, so the first one doesn't make any tokens. The second one is a Goblin Instigator, and then it just scales off from there.
Let's come back to that Goblin Instigator here in a little bit, but I just want to put it into perspective for everybody why we're going to be talking about this card. And I think we should give the initial argument right away to make it known why we're even caring about a card like this. And the main reason is specifically this card may hinder certain deck constraints and deck building promises. Do you want to kind of elaborate on that a little bit, Rohan? I know you have some thoughts on it.
So this card's broken. I rest my case.
He just slammed the book over. Bye.
Yeah, I mean, this card, I feel like at first when I read it, I was like, okay, another meme slime, Dragon's Approach thing, Relentless Rats, whatever, right? Like, I've yet to see a good Slimes Against Humanity deck. I mean, I know that they're out there. I've lost 1 game to a Slimes Against Humanity deck. I felt really bad. Okay, I'll admit it. I lost a game to Slimes. It didn't feel good. I was an idiot. I probably misplayed. But like 1 bad counterspell, right, guys?
Plays into counterspells.
To the best of us. But otherwise, I've never lost to a Slimes deck, and I've never seen one win. So I'm like, whatever. But then once the Brewers really started going at it, specifically in our Discord, but in many other Discords. Once the mines started cooking, it becomes pretty clear that this card can do some really crazy shit. Like it's not exactly exponential growth, but it's close. I mean, it grows really, really, really fast. You're putting out close to 100 damage in like less than 8 turns if you're just playing these creatures, on curve without being stopped.
I can make one really easy for you, Rohan. Let me help you out here. So in our Discord, one of our members, Little Rad Lotad, actually did the math, and it's turn 7. By turn 7, you will deal 92 damage to the table. So you could actually win by turn 7 with on curve only casting Hare Apparent. Obviously, they don't have to live, right?
Unblocked,
Yeah.
Magical Crystal Land, yada yada. But like, I think that if that's the floor, the floor's pretty tall.
Yeah.
I don't disagree.
I don't know. I feel like the floor for a lot of our other decks is like I draw an extra card every turn. Like Gretchen, right? It's like you get to draw a card, maybe play a land, or both. That's the floor. Like, it's not 100 damage by turn 7.
Yeah, the crazy thing is this is just with like, was it 60 Hare Apparents and 30 lands? We haven't built an actual deck yet.
Yeah, that kind of is exactly the point, though, right? Like, this card actually is going to start creating this weird dynamic in the format that is, why are we playing these cards over Hare Apparent, right? Like, why are you not just playing Hare Apparent? And so, for examples, let me just help your guys' brains kind of like wander here for a moment. I'm just going to rattle off a few commanders that are relatively known in the community, just to make it apparently known about these bunnies. So we have Gut Leader. There's a case to just cut all the creatures out of the deck, rebuild the deck from scratch, and play Hare Apparent.
When you said that originally, Chris, my heart started palpitating because I'm like, don't make me have to rebuild this whole damn list. I foiled out for way too much money for a Pauper deck.
Yep.
No.
But there is an argument made for Gut Leader being able to just go into Hare Apparent. There's an argument for Abdel anything. Whatever variation of Abdel you want, cut it all and turn it to Hare Apparent.
No, with Abdel, all the bunnies go under Abdel, come out with like multiple bunnies. It makes Abdel even more unkillable.
Yeah. Yep. Which is pretty crazy, right? Because like the red version and the black version just definitively become insane, right? It's exactly what the red version needed the entire time. Street Urchin would just be a very good control deck at that point. And it doesn't need anything but the command zone to do it. There's even other commanders, though. Like, there's just so many. There's GDP. There's...
what's GDP for people who don't know? Just in case.
Great Desert Prospector. My apologies. So, actually, I need to pull that card up.
I should pull that one up. Great Desert Prospector. It's a 5 CMC white creature, 4 colorless, and 1 white pip. Creature, Human Artificer. It's uncommon, so severe commander. It's a 3/2. It says when Great Desert Prospector enters the battlefield, create a tapped Power Stone token for each other creature you control. For those who don't remember, Power Stone token is an artifact that says tap, add a colorless. This mana can't be spent to cast non-artifact spells.
So it's essentially a dump, and it'll allow you to use your mana for just the bunnies and then use the Great Desert Prospector to enable all the pump spells in the world. All of the little, like, unicorn pumps, all of the white little pump creatures, all of them in the format. There's many in the format. But you just get to dump it into those creatures while using your mana to just continue casting Hare Apparent. Here's another deck.
There's another mana sink that we'll get to later.
I'm just running through some of these decks now. We're actually going to dive a little bit more into these decks here in a few minutes, guys. But I'm just kind of trying to fill your brain with like all of these different decks that could just slot these in and have an argument that you should be playing these over what the deck is currently doing. Wrath, Weatherlight Captain. That's another commander, because it's just a pump in the zone, and it'll help you draw cards when you just play whatever other counter spells. It doesn't matter.
Bunnies and counter spells.
Yeah. Hero of Dunes. That's another one. Do you mind reading that one for us, Rohan?
Hero of the Dunes. It is a 5 CMC, 3 colorless, 1 white pip, 1 black pip. So it's Orzhov. It's a creature, human soldier. It's also a 3/2. It says, when Hero of the Dunes enters the battlefield, return target artifact or creature card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Then it says, creatures you control with the mana value of 3 or less get +1/+0.
That's just another Anthem in the zone and just a recursion engine in the zone. Now let me hit you with another one, guys. Corpse Knight. Can you read that one off for us, Rohan? I know this one's a little off the wall.
This one I actually really do want to build. So sick. Corpse Knight. 2 CMC, 1 white, 1 black. Creature, Zombie Knight. It's a 2/2. It says, whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, each opponent loses 1 life. Very simple. Very effective.
Yep, very simple, very effective. Amber Veteran is another one because your bunny tokens are just great fodder to go for amber triggers and whatnot. And it just continues with the theme of the deck as well. So I could keep going with decks and different decks we have in the format, but I'm going to cut it off right there so we can actually dive a little bit deeper in some of these decks, guys, because pretty much what I'm trying to show here is that, one, it is bringing a few new decks in the format that haven't existed before, but it's also it's kind of homogenizing a lot of things. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that, Franklin?
You have to start asking yourselves, like, all right, every single white deck now has a Goblin Instigator that scales, not nearly exponentially, but just scales a lot. So the first one doesn't make a token. The second one makes 1 token. The third one makes 2 tokens, and then so on and so forth. So I think it's basically n-1.
Yeah.
Well, so let's break it down here really, because I've heard a lot of conversation about specifically, and I like to use the Goblin Instigator as like just kind of the poster child, right? Because Goblin Instigator sees play in a lot of decks in our format. In fact, it's kind of like the floor for what something should be, right? 2 mana, 2 creatures, 2 1/1 bodies, great creature type, right? Hare Apparent is 2 mana for a 2/2. Just by itself, right? So it's just an old school.
Yeah, which is already baseline good.
Which baseline's good.
It's a bear.
It's on rate, right? But now 1 more Hare Apparent, so 2 total, is a better scaled Goblin Instigator, right? Because you get your 1 token and you get a 2/2. So you're already able to be a better card than a Goblin Instigator. So it already has a higher ceiling and a higher floor, just with 2. And it even scales up from there in comparison to other cards in the format, like a Beetleback Chief, including many, many other cards we have in the format like that. So it really does make a hell of a case of why are you not just playing these bunnies? The funny example I like to make, and actually before the episode, you guys, I was trying to sell Rohan on this, and I hit him with this example. I said, we're going to play Abdel Black and Agent of the Iron Throne. Your deck actively doesn't need to be anything else but lands and Hare Apparents. No rocks, no spells, literally Hare Apparents, and the 2 win conditions are in the zone. If you curve out on just baseline curve, just 2 mana Hare Apparent, 3 mana another Hare Apparent, nothing on turn 1, turn 4, 2 Hare Apparents, and then turn 5 you cast the Abdel, you'll make 4 tokens, and you'll have 6 tokens. So you have a total of 10 tokens, right? What's crazy about that, I did the math right? Okay, so I'm off by 1. You'd have 9 tokens. So you'd have 9 tokens. And then with the Abdel, you just play the Age of the Iron Throne next turn. Maybe you play more Hare Apparents. But then at that point, Abdel can't die. Because if Abdel dies, you actually create 12 tokens from the 4 Hare Apparents that are underneath Abdel, which is absolutely bonkers. And that only scales up from there, right? If you have five Hare Apparents, it just gets crazy, like the number of creatures that you're producing and tokens you're producing. So what are your thoughts on that, Rohan? So like people can kind of see what you got.
Makes me a little sad, honestly. Because it's like, one, it's entertaining because the card is very funny and it's clearly very strong, right? And we're all excited for this card that's very strong. And that's cool. But it makes me sad because you guys out there have listened to, hopefully by now you've been listening to us. And if you're not, and you're listening to this right now, so please subscribe, because what are you doing? Like, we put a lot of time into building your decks, right? Like, we make a lot of really tight decisions, and I think that's what defines us as competitive, PDH players. We are, looking at everything, right? Like, very, very closely. Every creature, every spell, every land is kind of like, we mull over it. We think about them, a lot, and we are looking at these almost these like tiny minute details, right, between cards, and making decisions, based on that. So just to get every little advantage for our decks, to make our decks that much more competitive, right? And you have a card like this that comes along, and it kind of feels like it invalidates a lot of that decision making, because it's just so strong, right? It's like what Chris was saying. Why would you not run it? It's optimal. Like, and that's where, we have to make this decision then, or you have to make this decision out there when you're deck building. Like, is this optimal now? Is this the most optimal way to build Abdel Black? This isn't out in the world yet. We haven't built and tested it, but it definitely feels like it's looking that way, that it very could possibly be the most optimal way to build not just that deck, but Gator was saying, like, a whole bunch of other decks.
Well, let me hit you with this one. I think this is a really interesting one too. Let's just go to Gut Leader, another well-known deck in the community.
Yeah.
You don't actually have to use Gut anymore to make skeletons. If you do the math, turning your Heir Apparent tokens into 3/3 beaters, which allows you to just play Gut and Inspiring Leader on turn 6 together. You just play both of these, and
It's funny that you say that. I was thinking the same thing, and it's like, at that point, why play Gut?
Yeah.
Oh, there's way better
free background out there, right?
It's the background that matters, right? And and if that's what we're optimizing for, then there are significantly better commanders to pair with that background to pay this strategy off. And it's like, okay, if we're doing that, is that just Gut Leader that's 10 times better?
Yep. So it's interesting, right? Because even before the episode, we were talking about Lulu. You actually brought up Lulu, and I was like, oh, wow. Lulu would just be, like, nuts with these things, right?
Insanity.
Yeah.
Like,
that on, like, any Far Traveler list.
A massive anthem that just, like, gives +1/+1 tokens. Everything's just growing, because you don't care about swinging out with these and they die, because you're just making so many. You just swing out. They're not all going to get blocked. And then they grow every turn, and then you pair that with, I'd say, like, either Inspiring Leader or Iron Throne. Both are great. Like, Iron Throne gives you that board wipe protection, because someone wipes your board. Well, guess what? You just killed yourself. Cool.
Yep.
And then Leader obviously gives you board wipe protection in a more proactive, offensive way instead of defensive.
So I got a good one for you. So this is the card. I don't know if you guys noticed earlier, but we were naming a lot of Orzhov commanders, and there's actually a specific reason why. And I'm going to bring up 2 cards for you guys specifically. One is Echoing Return. Do you have that one available for us, Rohan?
All right, Echoing Return. Oh, such a spicy card.
Super
black
spicy.
Sorcery, 1 black pip. One black mana for this effect just seems wrong. It says, return target creature and all other creature cards with the same name as that card from your graveyard to your hand, which is unreal. I mean, that feels like it shouldn't be a common card, but it is. So there you go.
Well, so
Marauder protection, baby.
So you see what's wrong with that, right? These creatures are breaking the format dynamic, which I actually don't appreciate as well, but that's a different subject in its own. So going back to the way they scale with this Echoing card, just think about this play pattern, right? I like Orzhov because I get Dread Return. So I could just sack 3 of the real creatures and then Echoing Return them and then play them all. And that costed me 5 mana, right? For 2 Heir Apparents, the Echoing and the Dread Return was free because I cast it in the yard or bring back my commander or whatever with it. It's very interesting to really think about, like, what you could really do with these rabbits, because here's the other thing with it, right? If we're in, like, turn 8, let's say, we have 8 mana. if you echoing return them because they died from Wrath, you can actually play them all back out that same turn because they're only 2 mana apiece. So you're like, play 1, play 2, play 3, play 4, play 5. I understand that doesn't sound very exciting, you guys. I mean, it sounds honestly incredibly lackluster. But when you actually start calculating the math and that our format only revolves around 30 life, this is where it actually starts to get dicey, right? Because they're expendable. That's the other thing that is worth noting, right? They're not. Why would you bolt a Hare Apparent? Like, you never see anyone bolt a Goblin Instigator. Why are you going to bolt a Hare Apparent? Oh, I'm going to stop you from getting 1 token.
All right, cool.
Like, what did you actually?
I have 2 more in my hand.
Yeah. Like, what do you? Oh, I stopped you from making 2 more tokens. Okay, I'll return it to my hand because that's all my deck is Hare Apparents, or I just keep playing more.
Yeah, and the fact that this is the first one of these style of cards that's actually 2 mana instead of 3 just warps the math so much. Because again, before with Slimes or Dragon Approach, you'll be like, okay, whatever, it's turn 6. You have to wait until turn 6 to cast 2 of these. Yeah, but now on turn 6, you cast 3 Hare Apparents.
Yeah, I think a lot of people out there too are going to be, I think the naysayers, right, are probably going to be like, well, Gator, Kunks, if I'm going to just pack my deck with Hare Apparents, I'm never drawing cards, so it doesn't matter. I'll just be hellbent, and I'll just peter out, and I'll just die. But I think this is probably one of the reasons why, you guys are recommending Orzhov, right?
Yep.
It does a few things beyond just giving you sack outlets and board protection. It gives you, as we mentioned in previous videos, the best fucking draw spells in the format.
Yep.
And those draw spells often require sacking a creature. Guess what? You have a lot of.
Yeah, and by sacking them, we just make Menthara bigger.
Here's the irony with that. Let me hit you with this quick caveat, because the other problematic card that we would have that's very good against this would be the echoing cards, right? Echoing Decay and Echoing Truth, which all the blue decks are packed with Echoing Truth. Now, the cards that you just recommended to play because we're in Orzhov, Deadly Disputes, Corrupted Convictions, right? All of those sack whatever they decide to target. And imagine Echoing Truth, the 2/2s. Thank you. I will do it again. Like, it's only beneficial, right? So it's just so, and you're gonna throw them under the bus, especially if you're playing Abdo, especially if you're playing some of these commanders, because you don't care about them. They're just 2/2s at the end of the day that just accidentally give you an army. So
yeah,
it's very interesting.
I think it exploits, I think, the biggest weakness of the format, right? Which is our lack of board wipes, a lack of consistent board wipes. I don't think, like, the closest we've gotten, at least in my opinion, I mean, I guess there are 2, is like TPI and Kadira as far as like rapid token generation, really freaking fast. Those decks can win just based off of just like getting too big too fast and the table not having answers or having drawn into those answers because they're rare.
I mean, just think about Kadira, though. Like, that's another deck you're going to make the argument, well, why are we not just playing Hare Apparents, right? Like, you really have to sit down and look and be like, why am I not doing that this deck? It's doing everything I want. And it's giving me better tribal synergy because, once again, I said the weak cards are the echoing cards against it. But guess what you get in green and white? Echoing Courage. You get a massive pump spell. Like, bonkers pump spell.
So crazy.
You get all the ways to protect your board.
So all the 1 mana pro colors.
Yeah, exactly. So it's pretty wild. I mean, there's a very few select decks that I know that have white that would just be like, I won't ever play this. And the only one I could really think of off the top of my head is a Wilson deck, right? Because Wilson only cares like a Voltron style strategy, right? Deck. Any go wide strategy, they're in white. You have all the flickers at your disposal. Why are you not trying to play these, right?
If anything, there's probably like an argument for Wilson Far Traveler to just throw these in there in case you like can't think of any other creatures to put in. Because once they tap, you just make more at the end of your turn.
I don't know. I don't think so. I think that's
like if you really wanted to go wide instead of taller.
That's fair. I mean, you can blink them and just continue to blink them indefinitely, and just ignore the Wilson part of the deck. But
Also, what do you guys feel about these? I know this is getting away from the competitive aspect of what we're talking about, but I think it bears at least bringing up the fact that cards like these tend to command a premium price.
That actually really bothers me as well, because so I was going to build a Slimes Against Humanity deck originally because I pulled a couple copies in my packs, and I ended up selling them for like $9 a piece because I was just like, that's ridiculous. I'm not going to build this deck for fun. I need 30 of these. Like 30 times 9, no thank you, right? Like I'm not spending essentially $300 on these cards. Like no way.
For fun meme deck.
I remember selling in a similar situation. I sold 25 Dragon's Approaches to buy a Shieldred.
Yeah. Well, it's super funny because my wife bought a bunch of packs of Strixhaven when it came out, and she pulled like 6 full Dragon's Approaches, and this is when the set was like only like 2 months old. Yeah, they were like really expensive. I don't remember how much I sold them for. I think it was like $10.
Yeah, but, at least. Probably more now. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was just like, got rid of those quickly. I was like, yeah. And then I was like, oh, I guess I didn't really read that card.
Yeah.
Like, it's just that weird, like, oops.
Yeah, and like you were saying before about how it kind of like, it's not breaking the pie, but it's sort of breaking the tenets of the format. I think one of the reasons why a lot of people come to PDH and CPDH especially, they want to play a really competitive EDH format, but they don't want to spend like hundreds upon hundreds, thousands of dollars on a deck, Yeah,
like the most expensive card is Lotus Petal.
Yeah, you want to be able to play and like the highest tier of meta for like $100. You can do that in our format. Like that's dope.
I agree.
So it would be sad to me to see like if someone wants to play aggro and wants to play white, that if this does become the only way, like the only option to be competitive that way.
Yeah. The only benefit about this being in Foundations is that Foundations is supposed to be printed and widely available for the next 5 years.
For 5 years, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, hopefully it doesn't hit higher than, oh my god, it is $5. I'm checking TCG Player right now on my phone. They're $5 per card.
Already?
Yeah, well, it's the pre-sale price. So if you got this far into the video and you're looking at pre-ordering cards, even though the set already released, don't buy cards at pre-order price. It's way too expensive.
Well, we'll see how readily available they are, right? Slimes Against Humanity was the promo card for that set, right? And it was $9. I sold mine for $9. Like, absurd. So,
yeah, but Murders was also like not that well received. There wasn't too many like reprints of it.
That's fair.
So it has that problem. Same thing with Strixhaven. That most people only opened Strixhaven because they wanted the Japanese foil demonic tutors.
So these will be the uncommons that are, or the commons that are going to be uncommon defined, right? That's probably what they're going to do with the packs, right? Just very difficult to pull these.
Yeah,
so
I hopefully, thank God Wizard doesn't do what Konami does, which is like short print commons. That's like the most frustrating thing about Yu-Gi-Oh! Too.
Not yet, they don't.
Yeah, not yet they don't, right? So let me use the big bad word, if you guys. So here's my hot take. This card almost feels, and I think you guys know me by now. I hate using this word specifically, but this card could almost feel ban worthy to me, just because
that's a hot take.
of it is a hot take. Yes,
you said the word.
I did, but like I mean, this literally makes me want to just like delete my gut deck and my Abdel deck. It's just like, why? Like, it's just like you said earlier, Rohan, like I've spent all this time like picking one specific card, like, oh man, I need to have like Burst Lightning, but now I'm just like, well, don't need that, throw that out the window, whoosh, that shit's gone, right? Like I'm just 30 of these things and like a bunch of Protect My Field cards. Okay, we're good. Like it just changes the dynamic, and only white can do this too. That's the problem that I'm having too, right? Persistent Petitioners, really? Like,
yeah, no,
really?
that card's out.
Like, Yeah, like come
And you
on.
need all the secret layer versions too in order to make it really good.
Yeah, like what? Like what are you doing with that thing? Like
Oh,
Slime's
Demon's
against
Disciple or Shadow's Apostle?
Shadowborn Apostle. Yeah,
Shadowborn
that's.
Apostle.
We don't even have demons in our. We have like one demon, I think. It's like an uncommon or a common. So it's like that's ass too. Slimes, I'd make an argument for them. I think they're not too bad. I really enjoyed the Gamekeeper deck with slimes. I'm actually going to build it because slimes started to finally
You
go
can
down
find the link to
price.
that in the description.
Cards like this make me worry about the format, right? Because imagine going to a tournament, right? And you're like an outsider looking in, and you're just like, oh man, I found this like old deck. I brought a gut leader, and then you have like you think a mirror match, and it's a heir apparent version of gut leader, and it just runs you over, and you're like, what just happened? I thought this deck made skeletons, and it's to kill me with bunnies. Like what? Like what just happened to my brain? So
Easy, the rabbits turn into skeletons.
yeah, man, it's crazy. So I'm really interested to see where these go in the format. I want to hope to see because we'll know, right? Franklin, you said it earlier. The Common Cause will be over with by the time this video comes out for you guys.
Yeah, and hopefully I didn't lose too much money because of my heir apparent bounty.
Yes, but we'll see how it goes. Excluding that, I don't think we have much more to talk about today, you guys. It'll be a little bit shorter of a video for everybody.
Yeah, we just finished wrapping up the live stream with Chris that you guys can go watch in the channel, even though this was like before the tournament. Again, hopefully I did not lose way too much money on the heir apparent bounty.
I'll throw in one last question for you guys before we part.
Yeah.
Okay.
What heir apparent deck are you building?
Bunny Blaster, Mono White Abdel. Abdel leader.
I was actually thinking about Sivrus and Far Traveler. That was actually one that I was looking at. I know that's a weird one, and we didn't even bring that one up.
No, that make once you mentioned the Echoing Return, makes all the sense in the world. Mill out all my bunnies. Go for it, bro.
Yeah, I just keep killing the bunnies. I keep bringing them back. I have the Dread Return, Late to Dinner, Unearth, Recommission. I just all the reanimating
Jolted away.
spells. Yep, the entire format. I just sack a bunny a turn, reanimate it every single turn. So it sounds cool. I mean,
we could just name it like Watership Down and just name it after all those rabbits.
Rohan, what about you? Which one are you doing?
Yeah. It's either going to be Lulu, Iron Throne, or Abdel Throne.
I think Lulu would be pretty sweet, man. I
Which is
actually
pretty cool, right? Yeah, yep. I've been. It's a card that's always been on the periphery that I'm like, this card is really sick, but it's a little bit too expensive, like CMC wise, and it just doesn't have the support yet. Maybe one day it'll be good, and maybe this is the day. Maybe this is the deck that makes that.
Oh, I definitely think so. Maybe we should even partner up on a list. I'm actually pretty interested on that one as well.
That'd be cool.
So, definitely. But with that said, guys, like we said, it's a little bit shorter of an episode today, and we just kind of wanted to put this out there for you guys because the Heir Apparent is just like one of those cards that is very uncommon, and you really don't see these in our format too often, and especially a card that's like not very flashy, but is truly doing a lot to the format. So,
yeah,
take us home, man.
Yeah. So whenever people start talking about new cards and they're scared of it and they want it banned, it's not going to be that great. But once people start brewing with it and the gears start turning in their minds and just like, I wonder what I can do with it. That's the sign of a super strong card. With all of that said, thank you everyone. Have a great week. If you took all my money because top four was 400 heir apparents, congrats, you have my money now. Have a great week, everyone. Be kind to each other.
Later.
Shout out to all of our patrons: Eric, Aaron, Dax, Devin, NYC Burrito, Little Rat Lotad, Frank, Scoob, HZ, and William. Thank you for all of your support.